Welcome, everyone, to the Society of Consulting Psychology podcast. My name is Ujjaini Brawley, and I am the 2023 SCP Conference co-chair. And I am thrilled to be joined today with Dr. Dana Gionta. Welcome, Dr. Gionta. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, yes. Excited to have you. Thank you. I'm going to jump right on in, and I would love for you to share a little bit about yourself. And as well as you are doing two presentations at the conference, one on boundaries in the workplace and the other on executive wellness. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about yourself and your connection to the conference.
Sure. My business is a combination of coaching, executive coaching, and also therapy. And I've been a member of SCP for about, I think it's about 12 years, maybe longer, which has been wonderful. And it's really how I got, into coaching and really, into working in organizations as well, kind of bridging psychology into the workplace. So it's been, it's a great association and wonderful people. And I'm really so thankful that I found them relatively early in my career. So that's been really wonderful.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. 12 years. I'm glad to be adding another one next year too.
Yeah.
What are you What are you looking forward to the most out of the conference this year?
Definitely the upcoming presentations I have the opportunity to do, which I'm excited about sharing all of the knowledge and the hard-earned, wisdom and experience that we've all kind of learned over the years to be able to share with our colleagues. But I really just love and really miss, getting together in person. So I'm really excited about reconnecting with some just great colleagues and really which have become friends over the years. And reconnecting in person and hearing about, there's always such great, I think, content. So also learning and growing together and being challenged and, the intellectual conversations and stimulation and the networking as well. So it's kind of a combination, but I'm excited about it.
Nice.
So
We're excited too.
yeah, there's such a nice, one of the things I found really unique about SCP is the sense of community. People are very, very giving and generous with their time and with their knowledge and expertise, and they really make you feel welcome and comfortable, and you could really grow and learn together. So that sense of community is very unique, I think. So happy for that.
That falls right into our theme. And I want to learn a little bit about your work in particular too. So what makes your work unique to this world?
Yeah, that's a great question. Boundaries, one of the areas that's really unique is my work on boundaries. And I started out many years ago, probably 20, working with individuals in my therapy practice around boundaries and relationships and at home, really, and, family relationships. And, many times it was interesting because I took it for granted, like some of these, I thought everybody knew about boundaries or learning to kind of just knowing their limits and being able to kind of just share them with others, what their needs are, their preferences. And but it was really eye-opening to me to recognize a lot of people, especially my clients, didn't, and so I found myself teaching and really kind of trying to create tools for them to kind of recognize that this is really a boundary that you want to set. And then the language, how to go about doing that, right? What language do you use? And then all of the emotions that came up when they tried to, set a boundary, the guilt and the fear and So all of it was such an incredible process of learning for me. And then, so over the years, I wound up to help the clients create a kind of an 8-step process for learning to set boundaries, which really has 3 phases. You want to identify what the boundary is, and then you want to set it, which involves really being able to communicate in an assertive way. But many times people, when they're first starting out, they don't really know how, feel comfortable with that, right? So it kind of comes out in a more passive way, or sometimes it may even come out in a bit of an aggressive way, right? Because there's fear there, and there's, they're not used to it, right? So how to then go, setting a boundary in a more assertive way, and then maintaining the boundary. So it's not just setting it, but you need to, you also need to be able to maintain that, and kind of what goes into maintaining those boundaries, right? So, so I kind of creating that process, which is really, it's about 8 steps, and shorter for the actual for actually setting it. But what many people don't realize, which is, for me also was a very neat discovery, is that self-care is a huge part of being able to set effective boundaries. Because if you're exhausted and depleted, and you're not feeling centered, then it's very difficult to be able to set and maintain your boundaries. So that I incorporated that into the process. And the other thing, just really over the years with clients, I through the identification of their feelings, I created a signal scale. So it's called the boundary signal scale, to help individuals identify the feelings that are coming up for them, which can cue them into being able to then set a boundary, right? So it helps them identify when a boundary needs to be set. Because many times people are not even aware, when should I set a boundary, right? Or, does this situation even warrant a boundary? But using this tool, the boundary signal scale, can really help someone identify, this actually is a situation where I really believe I want to set the boundary, or with this person in particular. So, and we don't get taught boundaries anywhere, in school, right? In our families. I mean, many families, you're not so good with boundaries. My mind wasn't so great, and actually I really didn't know too much about boundaries until I went to graduate school. And I took family systems, and there's a systems theory called Minuchin family therapy, which is based on like a structural kind of family therapy, which is all about boundaries. And it really teaches and shows you how incredibly transformative having healthy boundaries in a family, and even within the external systems from a family, makes such a difference. And that's really how I developed and became aware of the concept of boundaries. And then I kind of transferred that into my work with individuals. And that's how it came to be, really. So, and then brought it to the workplace in terms of seeing it in organizations playing out and with employees. And since the pandemic really happened, I think the kind of the consciousness around the need for healthy workplace boundaries, right, really, I think just increased exponentially, really. And so my work now is shifting more and more to boundaries in the workplace. And that's why I thought it would be a great time to do the presentation and introduce that with my other wonderful colleague, Liz Sweigart, Dr. Sweigart. So excited to do that with her as well.
Excellent. My inner self is over here just saying, yes, yes, yes. Boundaries are so critical.
So critical. So
many different levels, from our personal lives within families, breaking those generational curses, or just creating new standards of healthy family dynamics, to the professional world of working amongst others and teams, even recognizing our own self-care boundaries at work. And even on an organizational standpoint, those boundaries are critical, especially in learning about ourselves and growing too. So I'm over here just excited for your work and like, can I be at your at your session right now? Because it is so real time, and it's often
Mm,
not discussed, and kind of just like, you know, people often feel like they can cross boundaries or just lack that self-awareness.
right,
And
right. That's a great point. Many times people, they don't even mean to cross somebody's boundary, right? They don't necessarily mean it, but they do. And then, oftentimes it's unintentional. And then what do we do when that happens, right?
yeah.
Many times, many of us, because we're not really, we don't learn it anywhere. We don't really know what to do with it. So we kind of don't say anything, right? We kind
Mhm,
of feel resentful or frustrated or
mhm.
stressed, right? And then we kind of keep it in.
Internalize it, yeah.
Yes, internalize it exactly. And then sometimes, we can't keep it in forever, right? So then it comes out in like a not the healthiest way,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's a family situation or in the workplace. So, yeah, that's why, like you said, about having healthy, being able to be this really developing the skill, and I kind of call it a skill, right? Because, we're not really born with it, right? It really is a skill. And the better we get at it, the healthier and more enjoyable really our relationships are, the happier they are too. So, like you said, I do. I'm a firm believer in that they really are critical and they're transformative.
Yes.
Just like self care. Like when you focus on really good self care and learning to set boundaries, every area of your life really improves. I mean, it's just incredible to see. Yeah. And the other thing I'll share about boundaries, which is fascinating, is that the more you set them and the better able you are to set them, it actually increases others' respect for you.
Mm, yes.
And many times people are afraid to set them because they think it's going to really upset people, right? And it's going to negatively affect the relationship. But many times, not only does it improve your own self-respect, right? It actually improves others' respect for
Mhm.
you because you value yourself enough and your time enough to set those boundaries, right?
Mm.
If that makes sense.
Oh, it does. Absolutely. It reminds me of one of the four agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Don't take anything personally,
Mm,
especially if
hmm.
we're using voice to create those standards for our own selves, because others treat us how we show up. And I feel like we could talk about this all day, and I'm just I'm so excited for your session.
Oh, thank
I,
you. Well, hopefully you can attend. Are you going to SCP? Will you
I
be
will
there?
be there. I will be
Oh,
there. Yes.
excellent. Okay. Well,
Oh,
love to see you in the audience if you can make it. I know you may be very busy there, so that's okay.
I'd
Yeah.
love to be there. My last question for you is, while you share the dynamics of your professional life, I want to know a little bit outside of work. What what makes you happy? What what makes you feel fulfilled in life?
Mm. Yeah, I love these questions. Well, I have to say, I recently moved to Las Vegas from the East Coast about 2 years ago during the pandemic. Actually, I up and left and decided
Oh,
to leave, and I am much happier here. I really listened to my heart and my spirit, and it just did not feel settled on the East Coast. I lived there a long time, and I really I wanted a change. I really felt like I needed a change on many levels. And I wanted to live a lifestyle that was more outdoors in nature. So for me, nature and natural beauty and being in nature and hiking and biking and swimming, I love all of the outdoor activities. And like my ideal day is like starting with a hike in like the beautiful Red Rock, canyon here in Vegas. It's just gorgeous to be around the desert and these beautiful mountain areas. And the sunshine. So being around more sun and light, I feel like sometimes I'm like a sunflower, like
mm.
gravitate towards the sun. So that also brings me, I think makes me feel happier. and connection. It's just easier to meet people here, to form communities and to develop friendships, and many different social activities that are so much easier to access that I felt like on the East Coast, you needed to drive a lot more, like 45 minutes to an hour. Here, everything is within a half an hour, 20 minutes to half an hour. So it just makes your life easier, And so all of these things, I think, have just helped me feel happier, and more excited and vibrant, and just, obviously taking increased care of my health, too. But I think connection and outdoor lifestyle, and doing things that bring me joy. So I try to do that on a regular basis, if not daily, but definitely weekly, and trying to be around people and experiences that just make me laugh and just enjoy life too. So
Beautiful. I
boundaries.
love I love those those responses, and it sounds like you practice what you preach as far as self-care and creating those boundaries for yourself to make sure that you have that safe environment for you to live vibrantly. And so with that being said, you've got 2 presentations at the conference, right?
Yes, too.
One on boundaries.
And the other's on wellness and kind of creating vitality, which is kind of similar to what we've just been talking about too. So for psychologists to kind of increase their vitality and well-being, given the nature of our work, which can be very, mentally and emotionally challenging, right, at times, given the work that we're doing, and intense and stressful. So, Dr. O'Brien and I were going to really hopefully share some great strategies and concepts and some good tools to help our fellow colleagues, really be able to feel, higher well-being and even more vitality in their life, because there is a difference between living our life, going through life, whether you're existing, but then living and then feeling really vibrant, right? And I think that's where the more vibrant you can feel, right, the more energized and excited about your career, about your life, like you said, it brings you joy and fulfillment, that's really just a great, I think the highest well-being, that you can have. So, so hopefully we can just do a little part to contribute to that, so everybody can walk away from the presentation feeling like they've gotten some good, helpful strategies for that, and and feel like, okay, they're on their way to some increased well-being and vitality in 2023,
Perfect. That sounds like one of the great ways to break into this year 2023 as we move through these times of change and uncertainty. And with that, I'd love to just extend from my heart a thank you for sharing your expertise, not only on this podcast, also at the conference itself. I know that you're going to be doing some amazing presentations. I'm looking forward to it. Those that are listening to the podcast, and you're joining us at the conference, make sure that you all say hi to Dr. Gionta and join her presentations. And we look forward to seeing you all at the conference this year. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thanks. Happy to be here. And yes, come and attend our presentations. That would be awesome.
Okay. You heard that from her. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.